Hello, welcome back to Far Horizons Gaming. My name is Ben, and today we're continuing on with Suzerain. So in the last episode, we entered into some diplomatic negotiations with Valen over here, essentially guaranteeing our cooperation in their war against terrorism in exchange for oil and better trade deals. Might have been a bit of a deal with the devil, but see what happens there. And then we also addressed Parliament, attempting to persuade as many people as possible to jump aboard our constitutional reforms package. So, that was the end of the chapter. So let's continue on to the next one here. Wealth of Nations. Looks like we got a whole bunch of stuff here. 2 story beats, 1 report, a couple newspapers. Well, since we're here, let's start out with the report out of Agnolia. Van Horten wins elections. General elections held in Agnolia this week had resulted in the victory of the Norse Democratic Union of Agnolia for the second time, with its leader Martin Van Horten continuing his duties as Prime Minister. Well, that's helpful since we made all those agreements with him. Alright, newspapers. Got one from the Lockhaven Times. Health requires more resources. The latest report coming out of the Ministry of Health regarding the current situation and the need for privatization raises serious questions about the gargantuan scale of effort required to solve the structural issues of health in Sordland. One part of the report about the threat of a potential epidemic being real stands out as it highlights the problem of the current voluntary vaccination policy. Minister Bennywall has increased his calls for more financial resources to be able to make more changes to welfare within one term to cover existential issues like epidemic prevention. The report on the potential effects of privatization also included the downsides of what damage private interests could do inside the system of healthcare. However, the minister pointed out that small-scale implementation, one it proposes, would be able to deliver efficient results. Cool, if that comes up, I will definitely support that. Alright, Radical. The hidden power of men in uniform. No political leader in Sordland can survive in office without some support from the general staff. President Artur Vichy was a leader who learned this lesson the hard way. In 1927, a military coup brought an end to his short time as president, and later President Alfonso became a target of alleged conspiracies by the Old Guard, who were known to be very close to the general staff of the Swedish armed forces. Though nowadays fewer officers assume the role of political leaders, military influence continues to have major repercussions in politics across eastern Marcopa. According to a report by the Alliance of Nations, Sordland has one of the most influential militaries in the region, coming just behind Valen. The actions of the generals indicate serious military interference in politics. As the reports show, men in uniform still enjoy considerable influence on politics of Sordland, and nothing is being done to reverse the situation despite the country's history of coups and civil war. Well, I wouldn't say there's nothing being done. We are attempting to reverse that by taking away a bunch of the power from that old guard. But it remains to be seen whether we'll be successful or not. Alright, let's go ahead and start off back over here in Lockhaven, because why not? Ooh, nice, the opening of the H3 highway. Arriving in Lockhaven for the grand opening ceremony of the H3 highway was a proud moment for all of us. Simon and Lilius, who heavily assisted the project, were with me, along with Lucien, to decide on how to proceed tomorrow. Lucien stood up.
First of all, congratulations, everyone.
So many more projects like this. Well done.
We couldn't have done this without our excellent team.
Indeed. Let's move on to our plans for the opening tomorrow. It's been a long time since the last successful infrastructure project. There is good reason to capitalize on the occasion. I have a plan on how to do that. If Mr. President accepts, a drive from Lockhaven to Albury should do the trick. After the motorcade takes off, the road will be open to the public. What are your thoughts?
I don't support anything beyond the opening ceremony. Actions speak for themselves. Involving the President could be beneficial for his image.
I think so too. Mr. President?
Yeah, I agree. There's much to gain. Unless someone decides to kill us, but you know.
Very well.
Sounds good. It would display unity and strength if we all worked together in the convoy.
Additionally, a large crowd is invited for the ceremony and will be watching the opening speech.
Nothing like a cheerful crowd. Looking forward to it.
I think all of us do.
Simon stepped in for a comment.
On another note, it goes without mentioning that this was a team effort. Beginning with the president who put trust in me, I want to thank all involved in H3.
Simon, you deserve a lot of credit. After all, it was you who came up with the project.
Finally, people got what they wanted for a long time. We will need to show our best face tomorrow. I'll make sure that our focus on improving business and logistics is relayed to wherever necessary. All right, then. We have a lot of work to do tomorrow. See you in the morning.
Once again, good work, everyone. The team left, leaving the rest of the evening to prepare for the big day tomorrow. The next day, a stage had been erected next to the entrance of the highway in the downtown. The calm and warm weather created a positive mood in the usually breezy Lockhaven. The crowd was large, but still smaller than some rallies due to the strong PFJP presence here. We began moving towards the stage as the excitement was growing. We were all ready to begin the ceremony. I gave the green light and the opening address began.
Brothers and sisters of Swordland, I welcome you Lockhaveners today as a proud servant of this country.
Lucian's voice echoed in the square next to the highway. Hundreds of Swordland ESP flags began to wave as the cheers intensified.
Without further ado, I invite the President of Swordland to the stage.
I moved up to the stage to address the crowd. The press were taking dozens of pictures. Lockhaveners, welcome to the opening ceremony of the H3 Highway. The chanting from the crowd intensified. Some were yelling the motto of Lockhaven, liberty until eternity. Trust me, our work is far from over. This project is only the beginning of good tidings. The aim with the H3 was to improve logistics to aid businesses to create economic growth in East Nargis and Einland. This highway brings thousands of new jobs. Many unemployed citizens have benefited and will benefit on the path of the highway. I'm gonna go with Lilius because she was talking about trying to spread the word of our business plans, so we'll invite her up. None of this would have been possible without my colleague. None of this would be possible without my colleague with the sound advice, the Minister of the Interior, Lilius Groff. Please come over here. Lilius walked up to me and leaned on the microphone.
Thank you, Mr. President. Lockhaven, it is great to be here today among you industrious people. This project is a perfect example of the capacity and capabilities of Swordland as a nation. United we stand, and divided we fall.
Lilius brought attention to the strength that comes from unity. She then mentioned the positive change that the highway creates for Einland. After she was done with her speech, Lucian took Lilius's place on the stage to close the ceremony.
Citizens of Lockhaven, there you have it. As promised, Anton Rain, the fourth president of Swordland, has delivered.
We moved towards the entrance of the highway next to the stage. A 40-meter-long red ribbon was hanging over it. Simon gave me a pair of large scissors to commence the opening. The crowd was watching. I cut the ribbon, which led to a huge wave of cheering from the crowd. Many flashes went off at the same time.
Congratulations to all. It was a solid and fruitful effort, hopefully with much more to come. It's a good moment indeed. It gives us pride as a nation, one big step behind us.
Your car is prepared and ready. The drive to Aubrey should take about 4 hours, and the rest of the motorcade will follow you.
I entered the car and sat on the driver's seat. The crowd was trying to catch a glimpse of me sitting at the front.
Who do you want to travel with, Mr. President?
Lucian, you'd be my preference.
Thank you, Mr. President. It will be a good journey to talk about the reforms and our efforts to pass both the Assembly and the Courts.
As we began driving out of the opening ceremony area and into the new highway, the media took pictures of me and Lucien, who looked serious. The new highway was in pristine condition and quality. It was the best driving experience one could have nowadays, while providing the best traction and least noise. After the relaxing 4-hour drive to Arvery, we were welcomed by celebratory citizens and Mayor Eric Neal. The highway officially opened to the public, and thousands began utilizing it as soon as we left the area. Today was a great victory for the administration. Nice. Alright. Take a look at the country review. Economy, H3 Highway. H3 Highway connects Sordland's largest international port in Lockhaven with the city of Arvery and Island, drastically improving logistical infrastructure. Fantastic. But only average transportation links. The new infrastructure investment by the government has slightly recovered the transportation network connections. But it sounds like there's still a lot of logistical problems within the country. But progress is progress. So let's see what the Whole Sword Post has to say. President Rain opens H3 Highway. With a grand ceremony, President Rain has declared the H3 Highway open with his aides by his side and executives from Taurus Holding. After the ribbon cutting, he has delivered a heartfelt speech and brought attention to the capabilities of the administration. Following the speech, President Rain has driven his own car on the new highway for the first time. The H3 Highway is expected to boost the output of the island region and has been happily welcomed by the citizens. Fantastic. Alright, let's move on to Whole Sword. We've got a whole bunch of things. So, privatization plan proposal. The Ministry of Health has finished a privatization proposal plan in order to increase the resources of the health system and to increase the quality of services through small-scale market competition. Additionally, the Ministry's report highlighted the weaknesses Sordland has when it comes to a potential epidemic. Minister Bennywell reported that much more could be achieved through the healthcare system if the private sector could slightly assist by generating new revenue streams and adding new services. Right, Ministry of Justice files Erison versus Sordland concurrence. Ministry of Justice has reviewed the Erison v. Sordland case and put forward its concurrence opinion before sending the dispute to the Supreme Court. The Vice Minister of Justice came forward agreeing with the case of Ishval Erison and pointed out the majority court dissent would do disservice to the legal precedent of future constitutional rights cases. The case is now in the hands of the Supreme Court. That could be bad, but... Alright, General Staff gathers. General Staff is convened at the Ministry of Defense today to assess the security conditions of Sordland. More than 20 high-ranking officers were in attendance and discussed several war plans, the internal stability of the nation, and the overall state of the armed forces. Which means now we have to go meet with that blowhard Josef Lancia again. Alright. I arrived at the cubic building that housed most of the military command that resided in Whole Sword. The gray and brutalist structure looked daunting. I never liked this building. It always made me feel like I was standing under the concrete foot of a giant getting ready to crush me. It made me feel small, and I never quite got used to the feeling, even after this many years. At the entrance, I was greeted by Josef and his military entourage of young officers.
Welcome to the Ministry of Defense, Mr. President. Let's go to my office.
We walked from corridor to corridor to reach the office. On the way, we were met with high-ranking officers as well as privates. Every time one of these soldiers saw me, they stopped and saluted me. When we finally arrived at Josef's office, his entourage saluted us and left. He closed the door and took a seat. This must be something serious, especially since you invited me here.
It is important that you don't get misinformed on this matter. Falcon has another agenda.
He leaned back and interlocked his hands.
The situation with Romberg is getting worse, and our lack of funding in the military means that we would fight for survival in a war scenario. The Kruger fortification line and construction should help us in the defense of the mountainous and hilly provinces, and at the worst case, delay a potential advance.
What are our options in improving the situation?
We're making all necessary preparations, but any substantial military support from other nations would be a welcome deterrent against Romberg. The recent military partnership we've signed with Agnolia includes a mutual defense clause. In case of conflict, we'll be obliged to come to each other's aid. In case of a Rumberg invasion, they will come for help.
Do you think their support will be enough to hold the line?
I don't think so. Mr. President, we need stronger allies. Sure, Agnolia is better than nothing, but we must look further. Less be a fox in their options, in my opinion.
Advice noted. I'll bring it up to David.
Any deterrence should force them to think twice. As a result of the recent deal with Valen, we have started reinforcing the border. Forward scouts have been deployed, and we have started moving our divisions. Rest assured, we are ready for anything that will come from the other side of the border. We will be providing our reports to you.
I don't think we'll have any problems, but stay alert. We don't know what we're dealing with yet.
We are always ready for any situation, Mr. President.
Yosef cleared his throat.
Let's move on to our main topic. The mandatory conscription law has become a matter of discussion, and we need to strike a decision whether to keep it or remove it. The facts are that the conscription gives us a larger reservist pool that can cover a larger front line, and these troops lack the morale and quality to be offensive elements. My argument would be to remove conscription if our military can stand on its own 2 feet without them. If we're going to have strong allies, why do we need conscripts?
A strong knock on the door was heard, and the chief of the armed forces, Falcon Kruger, walked in quickly with a frown.
What is the meaning of this, Yosef? Why haven't I been invited? What is going on here?
I don't think that's the right voice, but it's fine.
You are overstepping and interrupting a personal meeting between me and the President.
Falcon deliberated the situation.
I see what's going on here. I mean no disrespect, but I'm leading the ground operations, and I must be informed of any strategic changes.
Minister of Defense is your superior, and so am I. Besides, this is a private meeting.
Disappointing. So this is how the administration conducts matters on military affairs.
Falcon's shoulders dropped in defeat.
Understood. I will of course obey the orders of my superior. I could take my leave in that case if Mr. President doesn't want me here.
It would be the most appropriate action.
Tell me what you think, General Kruger.
Matter is rather simple from my point of view. We kept to our traditional army doctrine. It is not devoid of disadvantages. However, at the end of the day, Rumberg has a large army, air force, and navy. Our conscripts will fill the much-needed weaknesses we have.
We don't share the same opinion. This is a modern age and requires a modern army.
That settles it then.
I would ask you to reconsider.
Mandatory conscription. It's time to have the professional force of willingly enlisted soldiers.
All right, then we can move on. Let me look over my documents to see if there's anything else of concern.
Yosef checked his folder before looking at me.
That's about it. I won't take any more of your time, sir.
Thank you for your time. I left the Ministry of Defense and returned to the Maroon Palace. Okay, good. On the one hand, I get where Kruger's coming from, that, more bodies are helpful, but, we're not the Soviet Union. We can't just, send a couple million shock troops in. So, that's not a good idea. Alright, wow, we got a whole bunch of things popping up here. So, country overview. Lack of reservists. Military has a clear lack of reservists, reducing the recruitment pool during wars. So that is a red thing, but at the same time, you're just throwing random people into harm's way. It's not going to help anything. What's going on over here? Oh. Highlighted, but okay. Yeah, attended the opening of the highway and remove mandatory military conscription. Nice, okay. So we got 3 newspapers, 1 from Whole Sword Post. Boys to Men, not without conscription. Sound the death knell for one of Swordland's proudest traditions. President Anton Rain has just removed the country's mandatory conscription requirement. We can therefore prepare not only for a smaller army and decreased defense capabilities, but also for future generations of young men who have no idea how to hold a gun or follow marching orders. This newspaper's male staffers remember their time in the army as one of their most cherished formative experiences. It remains to be seen how Swordish boys will develop a sense of national identity and self-determination without it. That seems like some kind of fucked up stuff there, but that's alright. Yeah, there we go. That's better. Better take on it from the radical here. Freedom. Swordish boys no longer forced to fight. One of Swordland's most backwards traditions has finally been reversed. As of now, young men are freed from the requirement to join the Swordish army upon coming of age. High school boys are rejoicing in their newfound ability to enter university or the career of their choice upon graduating, while military analysts point out the present reign's reversal of mandatory conscription will lead to a smaller but more professional army. We're just happy that those many young students who don't ally with the government's aims will now no longer be forced to fight with them. Exactly. Alright, and women march for equal education in Anarcha. In the conservative stronghold of Anarcha, protesters organized by the Swordish League of Women braved the call for gender parity in the classroom. Like us, these women hope President Rain will use his time in office to fix Swordland's notoriously sexist public education system and give young girls the university preparation they sorely need, as opposed to housewife training. A small group of counter-protesters was also present, but drowned out by the cries for equality. I mean, that's kind of our wife's main cause here, so I don't see why we wouldn't support that, but we'll get to it when we get to it. So, that was awesome. On the exact same note, report from Anarcha Women's Rights March. A group of demonstrators led by representatives from the Swordish League of Women marched in Anarcha, calling for gender equality in Swordland's public education system. Women were also among the counter-protesters who argued for the right to keep educating girls separately from boys in order to preserve Swordish tradition. And report from Early Air Force Base. Arcasia has finished moving its planes to the Earlery Air Force Base. As per the terms of the new agreement, the Arcasian military is allowed refuel and repair access to the Air Force Base in exchange for providing logistical, financial, and equipment support to Swordland. Honestly, if we expand on that deal a little bit, that might be pretty helpful in dealing with our Rumberg problem. Alright. So, report from the General Staff released a statement. Reading the wrong line there. The General Staff made a statement about the danger of the anti-military stance the current government has taken. The press release highlights that the lack of presidential support from the military is a major concern for the stability and defense of the nation. The staff opposed the reduction of the active field army. Screw you too. I don't care. Alright, briefing on the current economic situation. The Ministry of Economy, sorry. The team gathered in Wholesword at the Ministry of Economy to conduct an economy overview meeting to go over the current situation. The building was constructed in 1892 by Herrenwald, one of the, if not the, most famous architect in Swordland. The building looked simple and elegant, with a few of his signature domes spread out over the roof. Walking through the large bronze doors at the entrance, I was led by 2 assistants upstairs into a meeting room. Oh, that's a lot of people. Everyone stood up as I entered the room, buttoning their suit jackets.
Welcome, Mr. President.
It's good to be here. Everyone took their seats.
As you all know, today we'll go over our economic status. Let's begin without any further ado. The aid we've received from Arcasia has helped us tremendously. Personally, I think it was a great decision, Mr. President. We will use the majority of the capital to combat the recession.
I'd expect nothing less from our Arcasian friends.
Well said.
How are we doing in terms of the infrastructure?
The success of the first infrastructure project is already showing a positive effect on the economy.
Mikhail started grinning as he leaned forward. Thanks to the highway, economic growth is returning to Einland. We're expecting new investments and jobs in the region. Many leaders on the Business Council have praised the logistical improvements.
It was a gargantuan effort from our side in the Ministry of Economy.
Positive results show that we are on the right path towards economic growth. The people are already speaking of the positive churn.
I can see the reactions in society. David, do you have the stats on our deal with Agnolia? Our trade deal with Agnolia has increased our imports and exports by 25% in 1 month, with much more to be expected in the future. But higher prices of Agnolian steel didn't result in a trade surplus.
We should look for more trade partners. We can make much more and increase our presence in the region.
I agree. Not just the region. We should target for more deals internationally. We should see our improved relations with Agnolia as a stepping stone to expand positive influence. I support our foreign initiatives with partners as democratic as Agnolia.
I agree. Aligning ourselves to more democratic countries is good for Swordland.
It is good for overall trade with other countries as well. Democratic countries generate more trust in general. Let's hear the stats on our deal with Valen. Our trade deal with Valen has increased our imports and exports by 60% in 1 month, which is a considerably good number.
This was a dangerous gamble, but glad it started paying off.
The payoff is high, yes, but so is the risk. Our support for their military operation was questionable. Regardless, the numbers are clear. I must say, I still can't get behind a trade deal with Valen, especially when it involved military cooperation. I feel like we've made a contract with the devil.
I mean, that's exactly what I said too. But we're reaping the benefits. We'll come out on top here.
What I'm worried about is not only about Valen, it's the other countries too. The increased trade has improved our economy. I see this as a reason for celebration. On a side note, consumer spending has decreased further due to pessimistic mood caused by issues with our economy.
I'm confident we'll turn this mood around with adapted projects and solutions.
Good to hear. We will do better. While I agree that our first attempts were not successful, we still might have economic opportunities left.
It isn't good for reputation as the people expected quick solutions. We're running out of time. Simon checked his large dossier.
Sadly, our budget reserves don't look good. We'll need to look into whatever we can to increase the budget we have.
What can we do about it?
I will formulate a plan and present you the next steps. As per the latest data, unfortunately, the recession seems to be lingering. No matter the cost, we will have to increase our economic development rates. Otherwise, I'm sad to say that we will be doomed. We need to use the opportunities we're shown. Trade deals and infrastructure improvements always help. Mr. President, I'll be very clear.
Simon took off his glasses and put them on the table. He looked at me straight in the eye.
You already know this, and I don't want to frighten you, but if we are unable to stop this recession, we are heading towards an economic catastrophe that has never been seen before in Sortland. No, in all of Eastern Maricopa. I can't even begin to imagine how we could survive that. None of us wants to see Sortish people starve while the state is unable to provide for its citizens.
Well then, we need to get to work.
Exactly.
He put on his glasses.
Now, there are a few methods to tackle the recession. We have the potential to take additional debt to flatten the downward turn of the economy. The important factor is that we don't take excessive debt going into the future. I have a few project proposals. There are two main distinctions in between these projects. It's either about continuing our infrastructure improvements or investing in increasing production. If we continue on our infrastructure, that will lift us up to advanced country levels. However, our industrial production suffered and also needs a boost to return to pre-recession levels. There is, of course, the option to not take any risks related to our budget. The plans for these projects will be finalized soon. For now, I can provide preliminary information. Which would you like to hear first?
What are the projects that could improve our infrastructure?
For infrastructure, we have two projects. One is the Benfi International Airport, and the other is the Morna Port.
Benfi is growing at a rapid pace and would benefit highly from an international airport. Much more money to be made there, too.
The Morna Port will boost trade and improve the flow of goods to Torzlord, because Conriat Port is too small in capacity and extension is blocked by the Navy headquarters.
Morna would be a more significant city with a port, and the advanced logistical connection to Holzor would be better utilized. I don't think investing Morna with a port would do much to change our economic prospects. Goods are flowing from other places just as fast.
Increased imports and exports on a more accessible path to Holzor is very lucrative, in my opinion. Time is money. I agree with Edith. The Morna part will mean a great deal to our trade and improve the economy of the Lorne region, too.
Well, what are the projects that could boost our production?
For production, we have two projects. One is the Sarna Agricultural Zone, and the other is the Conriat Industrial City. I see the Sarna Agricultural Zone investment as a higher priority, due to the fact that farmers in Berger were the most hit by the recession. Sarna is also a much poorer city than Conriat. The Conriat Industrial City project has the potential to increase manufacturing in the Greater Holzor region by a large amount.
Sarna is a much poorer city indeed. It deserves any investment it can get from the government.
The recession has hit the farmers of Sarna particularly hard. Besides the agricultural output increase to boost our economy.
The investment won't be able to recover the industry there. Conrad, on the other hand, would bring more financial gain. Our government has the opportunity to export agriculture, and we should take it. It would increase our exports, too. Cool. I think I've got enough information.
That covers our subjects for today.
I've got more economy-related questions. Edith, how strong is our currency?
Was improvement post-elections, but it's unfortunately stagnated. But there are no losses in comparison to pre-election levels. Inflation has dropped by 2 percentage points.
Mikhail, how's the mood at the National Business Council? The business leaders in the council are nervous about the lack of tangible economic improvements in the country. They're holding on to the investments so they feel it is safe to invest their reserves in new hires or branches. David, what can we expect in terms of our trade situation?
Our success in reaching a trade deal has boosted our position as a regional trade route and increased the likelihood of potential trade partners. We have imported and exported more across the board with all countries except Rumburg.
Cool, I know enough now. Thank you for the information.
That concludes the meeting. Have a good day, all. Goodbye. Until next time, Mr. President.
See you soon. The meeting ended. Nice. Okay. We got 5 newspapers here, and looks like 2 reports. Let's go and start off with the report here from Magnolia. PM Van Horten warns about Vogzlanian presence. Prime Minister Van Horten warned us about the increasing naval presence of Vogzlan in the Markian Sea. He showed his wishes to have a stronger naval cooperation with Swordland in the future. That could be risky. Polio discovered in rural Suzerain. Fantastic. Reports from our border cities indicated that the polio outbreak in Valen has been moving towards Swordland. Specifically, there has been a sharp increase in cases in rural Suzerain and nearby villages. Health professionals have been dispatched to curb the infections by quarantining the patients. There are currently 23 active cases in Swordland. That's not a lot, but that could balloon pretty easily. Alright, let's check the news. Also posts. We've got 2 of them here. So, Valen border reinforcements announced. As Valen begins Operation Bear Trap against BFF targets, Marin Palace has reiterated the commitment to defending our Valen border against any threats and announced new reinforcements to the border. Palace announced that the Swedish Armed Forces are working in close cooperation with the Basic Armed Forces. As part of the mobilization order, General Vulcan has made comments, saying Swedish Armed Forces, as always, stand vigilant against any threats inside and outside of our borders. We will not allow any terrorists to waltz into Swordland. The extent of the border reinforcement was not disclosed as of yet. and housewives marched to defend Swordish tradition in Anarcha. As the Swordish League of Women spearheaded a march for so-called education equality in Anarcha, a group of self-proclaimed happy housewives led a counter-protest. Their argument is that pulling girls out of handicrafts classes and forcing them into science classes alongside boys would be an affront to Swordish tradition, and that co-ed restrooms in schools would be the next logical step. The fuck? We at the Whole Sword Post hope President Rain will make the same decision and not fall into the trap of pursuing unnecessary changes in the classrooms. Wow, okay, that is kind of messed up. Alright, from the Radical. Rain closes door to refugees from Valen. The bloodthirsty dictator Vitor Smolak has begun his operation against the Brutish Freedom Front in northern Valen. The operation's name, Operation Bear Trap. Marin Palace gave its support to the operation and stated that the Swordish Border Guard will be in close contact with the Vasic armed forces to stop any fleeing militants. Although this act might seem justifiable at first, Victor Smolak's track record is apparent. He's been accused and condemned by the international community for many war crimes against innocent Brutish people before. Smolak has already ordered the bombings on civilian schools and hospitals, calling them breeding grounds for terrorists. President Rain's response to close our borders to prevent any stragglers from coming into Sworland is troubling. Rain is forgetting something. Not all stragglers from this war will be armed militants. Yeah, that's a bit of a problem. Not sure what I can do about it at this point, though. Alright, Geopolitico. Operation Bear Trap begins. President Smolak has declared the start of Operation Bear Trap against a separatist militant group that plagues Northwest Valen, the Brutish Freedom Front. Rumburg, Agnolia, and Lesbia have condemned the mobilization order, citing the war crimes committed during the previous assault against the Brutish people, while Sworland has not made any comments on the matter. Watchtower of Human Rights said they will be following the developments closely for any infractions on human rights violations. And, amid spiking tensions with Agnolia, Volkson increases naval presence. Reports from Eastern Marcopa show 2 Volkslanian aircraft carriers are patrolling the Markian Sea around the Helioland Island, a massive show of naval force amid spiking tensions with Agnolia. Solport could interpret it as a provocation in the region, say experts on the region. The sudden and simultaneous appearance of the 2 carriers, accompanied by Navy cruisers, destroyers, and aircraft, comes as Fogland escalates criticism of Agnolia's increasing control over Helioland and its increasing forays around the island. Awesome. Well, that seems like as good a place as any to come and call it for today, so next time we will take a look at these mega projects and see what sounds like the best option. But until then, thank you very much for watching, and I hope to see you all next time.